Good morning, everyone. It's April Fool's Day today, and I don't know what to say. Happy April Fools. It's also Easter today in 2018. What the hell am I talking about? And anyway, in a Facebook group, Fountain Pen Sketchers, someone mentioned 51s for sketching. And I was thinking, now why would anyone want a 51 to sketch with when you have pens that have a point that has a variation in line width due to pressure? And I was thinking again of all the 51s I have in my collection, and I do use them all the time for drawing, and I'm trying to figure out how I use them. I don't use them for any finished drawings, but they're Johnny One Note delivery system of making a line that's one variety. It's thin or thick or fine or whatever. It's relatively the same regardless of the pressure you put on the nib. And why would someone want that? Well, I'm repeating myself here. I find that when I use a 51, whether it's for drawing or for writing, I use it to help me plan things out. I'm not seduced by the line that it makes, so I'm able to use the lines to describe the composition of the drawing I'm working on. Let's say I have to draw a house, and I'm, planning this out for a job I have to do. I can, using a 51, because I don't have that seduction, I'm not going to get lost in elements that aren't necessary for what I'm trying to do, which is to think about how I'm going to put something together. Now, it doesn't mean that I can't do the same thing with any sort of fountain pen, but if I start doing things like that, I'm thinking differently now than I was here. And sometimes I need to think that way. The same thing happens with writing. If I'm editing something or writing something that I have to type out, I often will use a 51 because it's making a line. I write the word. I choose the words based on their meaning, not based on what they look like or how nice they are to write. I'm basing them on the actual word and its meaning and how it fits in the sentence. So the same thing works when I'm drawing with these. I'm focusing on the elements of the drawing, the composition, the foreground, the background, how I'm dividing the space up. And this pen is great for that. It's almost like how some people might use a pencil. And, if I was actually going to draw on top of the thing that I was using the pencil on, if I was mapping out a drawing that I had to finish later, that would be one thing. But many of my drawings I do are based on sketches that I do on the backs of napkins or on scraps of paper like this. And a 51 is very good for that. It helps me think. It helps me focus my ideas in a way that a pen that has a seductive nib would not allow me to do as easily. I'd have to keep conscious of not wanting to step on the gas. If I got in a Maserati to go to the grocery store, I'd want to go 60 miles an hour. Sometimes I don't want to do that because it's against the law or the roads are too crowded with children playing hopscotch or whatever they play these days. And I sometimes want something to hold me back, I guess, and allow me to do what I need to do, which is to plan a composition, write a composition, write an essay. Not that I've ever written an essay in my life, but write draft an important email to a client, and I'm trying to get the facts, just the facts, ma'am. Now, a 51, as you can see, I'm playing with this 51, and I'm able to go, here's the standard broad line it makes, and I can turn it upside down like this and get a thinner line, and sometimes I do that, and it's nice that the Johnny one-note pen, like the 51, actually has two notes that you can, that note and that note, by turning it upside down. So sometimes, I don't know if I would call that seductive. It's not as seductive as this, where I have, lots of different widths, and I can change widths within a stroke. I really can't do that with a 51. Sometimes you can find some that have a little bit of flexibility to them, but pretty rare, and usually they're very fine, and they're sometimes the earlier ones. So a 51 for drawing, again, for me, it puts the brakes on, and it makes me think. 51s are a thinker's pen, thinking man's pen, or a thinking woman's pen. $51. No, 51. Just as an aside, 51s I never liked. I sort of like the design in a weird sort of way, but I always was regretting that they didn't have a really juicy nib. And I hated 51s. And I was like the character in Green Eggs and Ham. I didn't like them here or there. I didn't like them anywhere. But when I actually listened to pen customers of mine who loved them, and they were smart, intelligent people, why did they like this pen? I couldn't figure out, but enough of them liked them, loved them, in fact, that I started paying attention to them more and writing with them more, and I finally realized, yes, they are great. And they're great for a very particular reason, in my mind. I mean, they're great for all sorts of other reasons, but in my mind, they do put the brakes on and allow me to plan. The planner's pen is what these are. The end.